Tracy, that game against Iowa, is that about as good as you've seen your defense play from beginning to end?
You know, they played well. We played pretty good last two games last year against two very good running football teams. So, you know, I mean, it's a good game for us. Don't get me wrong. But you know, that's kind of the expectation around here. We'd like to play that way.
Did you do anything? Did you feel like you schemed any differently, or is that just everybody just locking in, just limiting mistakes?
Yep. Well, we didn't change a whole lot of anything really. You know, they just it's a you know, they're two back downhill, and it's who executes the best. And we happened to stop the run. And after the first series, we played well on third down. And anytime you play well on third down, and the offense has the success that they had, you limit how many snaps they take. And I said before, the best defense is still one to stand on the boundary watching the offense. You know, it's hard to give up any points that way. And so I thought our kids, when they did get on the field, though, executed very well.
Coach Gill said and as much as he enjoyed the Saturday game, he didn't have a whole lot of time to enjoy it after watching the Ohio State game later that night. Did you feel the same way watching them march up and down the field against a pretty good defense?
You know, I don't watch other Big Ten games. You know, we spend so damn much time watching film of them, and that I go home at night. I like to watch other conference games and be a fan of college football. And so, you know, I don't watch other conference games, so I have that rule no matter what till midnight, and so I enjoyed it and got the next morning, and then you go to work on the next opponent. So they're a very good football team, and it'd be a challenge again. You know, I mean, they're playing as good as anybody's playing right now, and I think they continue to get better on offense and defense since the first of the season. And so, but anytime you have a chance to still be playing for the divisional championship in your division, and you get to November, then it's more of excitement than it is worrying about who you're playing.
Tracy, they're converting 51% on third downs. That could be a key deal to get on the field.
Yeah, I think every week, you know, I say I know it gets boring me saying that, but don't give up the big plays. Play well on third down. You should get to the fourth quarter and have an opportunity to win the football game. And then in the fourth quarter, you got to make plays.
How did you flip that around against Iowa? Because that first drive they were going third down crazy, then that got shut off pretty quick.
Yeah, you know, they caught a ball on Eric, I think. They caught one or two balls on Eric, and one was a bag call on my part, 3rd and 3. I didn't do a very good job on the 3rd and 3 one. So, and same thing is that, you know, you get those first two drives, you get what they work on all week long that they think's going to work against. Sure, they change and scheme, and you try to find a way to survive those first couple drives, and we haven't been very good at that, and that's my job. And so, you know, hopefully we can we can play better out of the gate and get off the field on a third down. But thought we played a lot more energy, and not one time did the kid get discouraged by it. And I just told him, you know, I'm in the box. I just told Coach on the headphones, hey, just make sure they can't run the thing. Keep stopping the run, and we'll be just fine. And we were able to do that, execute on that day.
Trace, Everett Williams didn't have a ton of big offers. Obviously, the way he moves, it couldn't have been his speed. Do you have any theory on how he kind of fell through the cracks recruiting-wise?
You know, everybody has their own evaluations. People get tired of hearing this, and is that, you know, Coach Porter is the one who found Everett. I flew down and watched him practice, you know, in the spring. Liked the way he practiced, and so we offered him. And the side note to that, the day I went and watched him practice down there, it was in May, or was it May, I think? And it was about 30 degrees and windy. And so I was the only coach out there. Nobody else. Another coach I was with the school went earlier in the day to the school, and he said, hey, I can come back on another day when it's warmer. And I couldn't, you know, I mean, since I flew down there. So, you know, it's the same old thing. We just go off of our own live evaluations and feel like a kid's got the strength and the speed to play and plays well, then we're going to offer them. And there's a handful of kids. There's quite a few of them out there like Everett and that don't get those high of praise, and you just got to be willing to put in the time and the effort to find them.
He said he thought that J.T. Barrett has been passing better than Braxton Miller was. What's been your impression just of the job that he's done for them?
Again, on my side, I haven't seen them when Braxton Miller played as far as breaking them down. You know, I mean, that's This is the first time we've had the opportunity to play them. So I just know that right now they're throwing the ball at they're very efficient at it. They really are. And the other problem that they present is that if you miss a tackle on them, they can get it over with. So that's, they spread you out. They got very good athletes. Get you in space. It'll all come down to not only the third downs, but how well we tackle. They're going to throw some short balls, and we got to get the ball on the ground.
Saturday's senior day. What have guys like Cameron Botticelli and Cedric Thompson, how critical are they to what you guys have done in the evolution of this defense the last 4 years?
Those kids, I mean, Coach has said before, he talked about you don't win the Kentucky Derby with a mule, and to get on defense, you got to have good players. And those kids have gotten here, they developed, they've worked extremely hard. They take great pride in it. We first got here, nobody expected that, and so we owe everything as a staff to them to buy into the philosophy and believe that you can actually win football games by stopping people rather than outscoring them. And so to all those seniors, it's and they come here at a time we weren't very good. Let's face it. And so they had to believe in what we were doing, and they did. And for that, we'll always be loyal to them and what they've done for the University of Minnesota.
A couple of those critical third downs there in the second, you brought Murray off the edge with some pressure. Is that just you being aggressive, or your confidence in him to make a play?
Well, the funny thing about that is, on Eric Murray, is that I have more confidence in Cedric Thompson to make that tackle. Because when Eric comes, then Cedric Thompson, on the 1-3 and 9, it made him throw the ball sooner. You don't make that tackle, there's no help over there, and that play scores. And so, Eric, we've always kind of done that. I said before is that everybody goes, well, how many times are you going to blitz during the game? Whatever it takes to get the ball out quick, and so after the first series, we thought, okay, now you like to find out what teams' checks are when you blitz them and that. And so usually we do that one of the first or second series just to see what their checks are going to be. But it helps to bring an athlete. There's no question he can run. And it helps to blitz somebody that's 190-some pounds. So when they get there, they got a chance to do some damage if they get a chance to hit somebody.
Jerry said that Ohio State's receivers are just about as fast as TCU's. Having already played some high-caliber guys outside like that, is there anything that you can take away from that game to prepare for Ohio State?
I believe in our guys. I thought we covered TCU pretty good. And you never know speed till you actually play them. So I don't know. I know that Ohio State's guys can run. We play TCU's, but as far as comparing, I'll have a better idea once they're done. I just know that we have enough defensive backs I believe in that can run. I think we can cover people. So, my thing is, and we preach to the kids is not only covering them, but when they catch them is not giving up yards after the catch. That'll be a huge factor in what happens on Saturday.
Corners don't play with a lot of confidence. You threw them out there against Iowa and let them play one-on-one.
Yeah.
Do you get to motivate them much, or are they really motivated?
They're pretty motivated, and that's what I say. Eric wasn't very happy with himself. After the first drive, Eric Murray reminded me a lot of the Nebraska game last year. He gave up the couple catches to Kenny Bell early on, and to say, Coach, it won't happen again. And the other thing to that is, we go into that again by watching film. You can tell how kids can run, but you don't know how fast they are. And I always tell those DBs on that first series, let's don't be stupid and just give up one over the top right away. Let's make sure speed-wise where we're at and how to play them. And so everybody gets a little bit more comfortable defensively with the speed of the game as it goes on, as it compared to just coming out of the gate. So again, part of that's probably my fault by telling those guys, anytime we start a game, you're out there on the island, but give them a little bit of space till we know exactly how fast they are. And I'm not one of them that believes in you can take and somebody who's slower and press up and play man and stop him. I don't buy that. You better have the better horses to do that.
Couple more for Coach
Tracy,
Claeys.
they had run the last 2 years against you guys. Did it start up front with control the line on Saturday?
Well, I think the linebackers fit the fullback better. We went more downhill. We didn't stretch as much. Last year Iowa was the first team we played like that. And so Damian Wilson hadn't played against a team like that. So there's a lot of variables in there, and so we're still fortunate that during spring ball and fall camp that our offense does some two-back stuff, and we ask them to do a couple of those plays during spring camp and fall that they don't necessarily run here, but Iowa does, so we could get some work on fitting those plays. And so all that goes into just being better prepared or experienced playing against it, you know. So
Richardson was effective early in the year. You could see how good he could be, but did you wonder at all how he would do once you got against these gigantic Big Ten lines?
no, because I'm not worried about height. I mean, if you look at the way the kid's built, he's a rock, you know, and he's explosive. So if you have the size and the strength he has, the only reason that kid is not playing at the so-called helmet schools is because of his height. I mean, he can play anywhere in the country, anywhere in the country. So we give him a hard time. He's not going to bat down a lot of balls, you know. But besides that, he can stop any run gap, and he's pretty good at rushing the passer too. I mean, he had a lot of sacks in high school, you know. So again, it's we're very fortunate to have Steve and for him to want to be here at the University of Minnesota.
You mentioned,
Last one, go ahead, Dave.
you mentioned, just as a fan, but watching other teams, Tracy, around the country, can you put into perspective maybe how good Ohio State's offense is, how it might compare with the best ones in the country?
Well, I think I told somebody this the other day, is that I really haven't watched him until I done this tape, and the only thing I know is at one time that's not true. I watched him play a little bit against Illinois, I guess, because that's where I got the stat. Is I heard that for 4 games in a row, they'd had over, I think, 400 yards offense and 40 points, or 500 yards and whatever it was. They're the first Ohio State offense to ever do that. Well, when you do things that is being done for the first time ever at Ohio State, I think that speaks huge goals of how good you are on offense. So I think they're very good. I think I told somebody before, I think they've been their rankings it's been unfair to them because of starting with a new quarterback. I don't care how good you are when you start with a new quarterback. At the beginning of the season, you're not going to be as good, and that happened in August when they lost Braxton after they already started practicing. So what they've done offensively to grow and get better and improve, they've just continued to do it all year and playing as good as anybody and be a tremendous challenge.
Matt, is there a way to put into words what the seniors mean to you heading into senior day?
You know, it's hard. It's hard because, you know, when you work for Jerry Kill, it's more than just kids coming in and out of the program. You know, they become like extended family. So to have this group of guys that, you know, there are some of them we recruited ourselves, some of them that you know, had only been on campus, you know, 6 months when we got here. It's pretty neat to watch them develop, and, you know, even, you know, for some of those guys who maybe didn't play as much as they'd like throughout their career, with the way things have gone for them and them being part of the development, it's a pretty neat day. You know, any coach tells you differently, they're lying. It's pretty special to go through a senior day and see those kids. So.
Did you save Cobb's legs a little bit last week? Not by design, but I mean, he didn't have to carry as much. Is that a good thing for his last few games?
Oh, I think so, you know, because we're going to need him this week. So, you know, he, you know, obviously game plan wise, things were a little bit different for us. And you know, I can tell you this much. I think that if you ask the Iowa defensive coaches, they weren't going to let David beat them. And so, you know, not trying to, you know, pound all the mud out of that hole probably was a good thing both for David and for us. So we're hoping he's feeling pretty good and wants to get back at it, carry 25, 30 times this week. So.
Matt, I know you guys have been trying to figure out ways to the best utilize KJ May's speed. Was Saturday just basically everything clicking on all cylinders for him?
Yeah, you know, you always try and find the best way to, there's 2 parts to the equation. The best way to utilize the people that you have and their skill set, and then the best way to attack a defense. And fortunately on Saturday, those 2 things converged with regards to KJ. You know, be able to get him on the perimeter. Not everybody plays the same, you know, and it was well documented. I talked about it a lot. Didn't run from it. You know, terrible game plan last year against Iowa, and was bound and determined not to let that happen again. Hopefully, I said to myself, I learned a few lessons, and we did as an offensive staff. So when we went into preparing this time, we said, okay, what can we do differently? And then that's when a guy like KJ really became part of the equation because of what they were going to take away from us and what we had to do to be successful. So.
Is there any way Max was pulling that ball in?
Pardon me?
Is there any way Max was pulling that ball in on the
Oh
side?
yeah, absolutely. I never doubt Max. All right. Now you guys may, but I never do. And honestly, I didn't have any doubt he was going to catch it. Obviously, the biggest thing was he in bounds or not? And pretty happy that he was. I mean, he does things, and I heard Coach Z talk about it on Saturday after the game in an interview. He talked about Max is the kind of kid that he does that kind of stuff in practice. We have to hold our breath sometimes because he just doesn't know how to not go after it. He doesn't know how to pull back, and so I think that just carries over into the ball games.
Back to KJ May, talk about the decision when you did switch him from running back to receiver, and obviously he has that ability to run the ball, but you needed someone at that spot.
Yeah, and KJ has done a remarkable job of making himself, if you remember, KJ was a high school quarterback. So when he came in, we had an immediate need for someone to help us at running back. So he was able to jump in there. We recruited KJ. We said has a pretty neat skill set from the standpoint of the things he can do. And then we said once he gets here, we'll kind of figure it out as we go. And early on, needed him at running back. And then as time went on, saw that his skill set tended more towards receiver. And I think one thing that people don't realize is when you look at a guy like KJ, you think, oh, slot receiver, inside kid, can do some stuff inside. He plays more for us as an outside receiver, and he's going and blocking and going down and cracking safeties and things because you usually don't equate that with a guy his size. But what you can't, quantify is how big that kid's heart is and his desire to go play football. It's hard to keep him off the field when he's healthy. And the greatest thing is he's healthy now, so he gets a lot of time because he's a dependable kid. There's ways you can get him the football that are obviously non-traditional for a receiver, and he's worked darn hard to make himself a better receiver. So there's that combination that now he can play inside for us, can play outside, and he's a kid that we just have a ton of faith in.
Last year you kind of knocked Nebraska off balance with that receiver sweep. You saw the same tendencies in the Iowa defense.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we felt like it was going to be, that it was going to be successful just by virtue of doing it, but it was almost out of necessity. I mean, they are so good from tackle to tackle defensively that you watch some pretty good offenses not do a whole lot trying to run the ball between the tackles. So it was almost a matter of necessity/survival that we were going to have to get the ball in the perimeter. And then, that's where the work came in. It's just trying to find the best way to do it. And at the end of the day, I think it probably had a similar effect than what Nebraska did. But, there was a time, probably this time last week, where we were all scratching our heads saying, hey, is this thing actually going to work? I mean, there's always that doubt with a team. Iowa defensively is better than what they showed on Saturday, and I think they're going to show that the rest of the year. We just probably happened to catch them a little bit off guard with the things we did, and we're able to get rolling.
With KJ on those runs, a lot of them were to the short side of the field. What did you kind of see there, or what?
Well, you know what? People would say, why do you run an outside play to the short side of the field? There's a numbers game to it. Sometimes more is not better. We may be able to get more people to the field, but so will an opponent. And then what you end up running into is more things that can potentially go wrong. And so when you go back into the boundary, you can keep things a little more simple. And that's what against Iowa, that's what they were going to give us, the way they were going to play structurally into the boundary. We felt like the numbers were good, and even though we were going in the short side, we had a strategic advantage numbers-wise, and we liked that.
Matt, they have, I think, 14 interceptions. Is that based on the pressure they get?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as far as that goes, I think there's only one guy this year, the Clark kid from Michigan, that they seem to have three of them. They just keep rolling guys in, and the style of their defense is those guys they're gonna rush the passer every down, whether it's 1st and 10 or 3rd and 12. They're gonna try and disrupt. They're gonna try and rush the passer and figure out run after that. And disrupt blocking schemes by getting pressure as much as they can. So it's almost the polar opposite of what we just faced with Iowa. Iowa's going to hang in, get body on body, try and work you down the line, shed you, and go play. These guys are going to try and beat you with speed and quickness off the ball, try and disrupt your blocking schemes that way. So it's a flip of the switch as far as the emphasis goes for us up front.
Matt, Mitch was real good all around, but on the rollouts, was that something you guys had seen a lot of him doing well in practice too, especially, I mean, even going left, he could.
Yeah, I think that fits into where he's at right now, and his comfort level is being able to get on the move on some things, and so you know, we wanted to get that incorporated as much as we could. And then, you know, the other thing is he's healthy, and when you're getting the ball in the perimeter and you have a healthy quarterback and he's feeling good, then he becomes a run threat, whether he's going to or not. That stresses the defense as well, and so it just made sense to put some emphasis on that and get him out there and get him moving around a little bit. And it's something that he does well, so it fit with what we were trying to do last week for sure.
Take last question. Chuck did see on his space. It seems like a lot of times those guys are hitting Cobb. They don't know where the ball is.
Yeah.
How much of his yards are a product of that?
Yeah, it's that part of his game. It's funny, Chip, you bring that up, because that part of his game, I think, has been the biggest step forward over the course of the year, because it's setting up with play action, the zone reads. He's really feeling comfortable with that part of his game, and therefore that's keeping the defense even more off kilter, so to speak, and forcing them to be even that much more true with their eyes and their reads and things. And you know, he's doing a really good job of that. There were a couple times, to be honest with you, I mean, I've been not as long as Coach Kill, but I've been doing this pretty long, and I'm watching David Cobb, and Mitch is going out the back door, or, you know, now obviously I know when it's play action, but, you know, just kind of seeing how things are reacting up front, you know a kid's doing things right when you've got, you know, when you've got safety stepping up and linebackers filling holes and the quarterback setting back to throw. So that definitely need to continue that as we go forward, because that's part of who we are.